I'm going to be completely straight with you. I've been quietly building my emergency stockpile for the past 8 years, and there are 11 foods I've been hoarding that I never, ever bring up with other preppers in my community. While everyone is lining up at Costco buying the exact same buckets of freeze-dried meals and 50-pound bags of rice, I've been silently accumulating foods that nobody even thinks about. And here's the crazy thing. During the supply chain chaos we saw 2 years ago, while standard prepper foods disappeared in literally hours, these 11 items sat completely untouched on store shelves. Number 3 on this list is available at your local ethnic market right now for under $4, while preppers are spending $40 on worse alternatives. And when you hear about number 8, you're going to be shocked that nobody in the survival community ever talks about it. It's been a staple for centuries, costs practically nothing, and has a shelf life that will outlast your grandchildren. Here's the uncomfortable truth about prepping. We are all following the same blogs, subscribing to the same channels, and stockpiling identical items. The massive problem is when an actual emergency happens. That's precisely what vanishes immediately. In March of 2020, I personally watched stores get cleared of pasta in 2 hours flat. Canned goods were completely gone by evening. But you know what was still sitting there the following week? Every single item I'm about to reveal to you. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now because I drop unconventional survival strategies like this every single week that could literally save your family when things go sideways. Let's start with food number 1, miso paste. I know this sounds weird right out of the gate, but stick with me because this first one is an absolute game changer. 1 tablespoon of miso paste mixed with hot water gives you instant soup. It's packed with probiotics that support gut health, which is critical during high-stress situations. When your body is under survival stress, your gut bacteria get destroyed, leading to digestive issues and weakened immunity. Miso actively fights that. But here's the part that makes this truly brilliant. Miso contains complete protein and all the essential amino acids your body needs. For preppers worried about protein sources during long-term emergencies, this is huge. 1 jar provides months of nutrition for just $12. Compare that to those overpriced survival protein powders that cost $60 and expire in 2 years. Storage is dead simple. Keep it in the original container in a cool, dark place. You don't even need to refrigerate it, though most people do out of habit. I keep 6 large tubs in my basement pantry. That's enough to make soup every single day for over a year. And here's something fascinating. During World War II, Japanese soldiers survived on miso soup and rice for months at a time in the harshest conditions imaginable. The fermented paste provided everything their bodies needed to function. When everyone else is fighting over canned soup during a crisis, you'll have something better that nobody even knows to look for. Look, grocery prices are rising faster than most people can keep up with. I've done the math for you. I put together a free emergency pantry blueprint that lists the exact 15 items you can get at Aldi, Walmart, or Costco today to feed your family for 2 weeks. It's 28,000 calories for less than the cost of a takeout pizza. You can grab that shopping list for free at the link in the description so you can stop worrying and start prepping. Food number 2 is tahini, sesame seed paste. Most people know this as the main ingredient in hummus, but almost no preppers understand how valuable this is for long-term storage. Tahini is incredibly calorie dense. 2 tablespoons contain about 180 calories, mostly from healthy fats. In a survival scenario where you're burning through calories from physical stress and cold weather, fat is your best friend. Your brain runs on fat. Your body needs it to absorb vitamins. Most prepper foods are dangerously low in fat content. But here's what really sold me. Unopened tahini lasts for years in the pantry. Once opened, it stays good for months without refrigeration because the natural oils and sesame seeds resist oxidation. I've got jars that have been opened for 6 months sitting in my pantry, and they're still perfect. The nutritional profile is insane. Tahini is loaded with calcium, more than milk by weight. It's packed with magnesium, which most people are deficient in and which is critical for energy production. It contains iron, zinc, and a ton of B vitamins. The versatility is what makes this truly next level. Stir it into soups for richness. Mix it with water and lemon for instant sauce. Spread it on crackers or bread. Add it to beans for extra protein and creaminess. I keep 12 jars in my stockpile. Each jar costs about $7 and contains enough for dozens of meals. That's less than $85 for a year's supply of high-quality fats and protein that requires zero preparation. While other preppers are dropping hundreds on freeze-dried meals, I've got this sitting quietly in my pantry. Nobody is panic buying tahini during emergencies. That's exactly why it belongs in your hidden stockpile. Food number 3 is dried lentils. Now, I know what you're thinking. Lentils are not a secret. But here's what nobody talks about. Most preppers stock beans, which is fine, but beans require soaking for hours before cooking. Lentils don't. You can throw them in a pot and they're ready in 20 minutes. No planning ahead, no soaking overnight. In a high-stress emergency when you're exhausted and just need food fast, that difference is massive. Lentils contain more protein than beans, about 18 grams per cooked cup. They're absolutely loaded with iron, which is critical because during stressful situations, your body burns through iron faster. Low iron means fatigue, weakness, and poor decision-making. Exactly what you cannot afford during a crisis. The shelf life is incredible. Dried lentils stored in airtight containers last 10 to 15 years easily. I've got 5-gallon buckets filled with red lentils, green lentils, and brown lentils. The variety matters for morale. When you're eating survival food every day, even small differences in taste and texture keep you sane. Here's my favorite survival recipe. Boil lentils with a little salt. When they're soft, mash half of them to make it creamy. Add any spices you have. You've got a thick, filling stew that sticks to your ribs and actually tastes good. Cost-wise, this is unbeatable. I bought 50 pounds of mixed lentils for $38. That's over 150 meals. Show me any prepper food with better value than that. Storage tip that took me forever to figure out. Keep different colored lentils in separate containers and label them clearly. When you're tired and stressed, you don't want to be guessing which type you grabbed. Red lentils cook fastest, green lentils hold their shape best for salads, and brown lentils are the most versatile. During the last supply chain disruption, I watched rice and beans disappear instantly. But lentils, fully stocked for days because most Americans don't even know how to cook them. That's your advantage. Food number 4 is anchovy paste. This one is going to sound absolutely insane, but hear me out because this might be the smartest prep food you've never considered. Anchovy paste comes in these small tubes, and it's literally just pureed anchovies with some salt and oil. Most people think it's just for fancy cooking, but this stuff is survival gold. Here's why this matters. During long-term emergencies, One of the biggest nutritional deficiencies is omega-3s. These are essential for brain function, reducing inflammation, and maintaining mental health. Without them, you get brain fog, depression, and poor cognitive function, exactly when you need to be thinking clearly. One tube of anchovy paste contains more omega-3s than most fish oil supplements, and it's shelf stable for over 3 years. No refrigeration needed, but here's the real genius. A tiny squeeze of anchovy paste added to rice, beans, or soup gives it this incredible, savory depth. It doesn't taste fishy if you use it right. It just makes everything taste richer and more satisfying. Think about the psychology of eating survival food for weeks. Everything tastes bland and boring, and morale crashes. One tube of anchovy paste can transform 30 meals from depressing to actually enjoyable. The protein content is serious. Anchovies are almost pure protein and minerals. They're loaded with calcium because you're eating the bones. They have tons of iron, selenium, and vitamin D. All the stuff that's hard to get from plant-based prepper foods. I keep 20 tubes in my stockpile. Each tube costs about $4 and transforms at least 2 weeks of meals. That's $80 for 6 months of flavor and nutrition. Compare that to expensive freeze-dried meals at $15 each. Storage is stupidly simple. Keep them in the tubes they come in, toss them in a drawer or box. They don't need anything special. And here's the kicker. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is buying anchovy paste during emergencies. This will be sitting on shelves fully stocked while everything else is gone. Food number 5 is peanut butter powder. Not regular peanut butter, the powdered stuff. And this is a game changer that most preppers completely miss. Here's why powdered peanut butter is superior to regular peanut butter for preppers. Regular peanut butter contains oils that eventually go rancid. You've got maybe 2 years of shelf life, maybe 3 if you're lucky. Peanut butter powder has the oils removed. This means it lasts 5 to 10 years when stored properly. Suddenly you've got a decade of high protein food. The protein content is actually higher by weight because the oils are gone. 2 tablespoons of powder give you 8 grams of protein. Reconstitute it with water, and you've got peanut butter. But here's where it gets really smart. You don't have to reconstitute it. You can add the powder directly to oatmeal, smoothies, soups, or baking. This gives you way more versatility than regular peanut butter. During a week-long camping test of my survival food, I added peanut butter powder to everything. Morning oatmeal got a scoop for protein and flavor. Rice and beans got a spoonful for richness. I even mixed it with a little cocoa powder and honey for a dessert spread. The morale boost was incredible. My kids were actually excited to eat. The calorie density is solid. You're getting about 50 calories per tablespoon, which adds up fast when you're trying to maintain energy during physical stress. And because it's so lightweight and compact, it takes up a fraction of the space that jars of peanut butter would. I keep 15 pounds of peanut butter powder in my stockpile. It cost me about $70 total. That's enough to add protein to meals every single day for over a year. Storage is simple. Keep it in the original container or transfer to mason jars if you want extra protection. Throw in a silica gel packet to prevent any moisture. And here's something I noticed. During the last round of panic buying, regular peanut butter was wiped out in hours. Peanut butter powder sat fully stocked because most people don't even know it exists. That's your window. Food number 6 is instant coffee. Now, before you roll your eyes thinking this isn't a survival food, let me explain why instant coffee is absolutely critical and why I keep more of this than almost anything else. This isn't about caffeine addiction. This is about performance and morale during the worst moments of your life. Caffeine withdrawal during a crisis is catastrophic. You get headaches, fatigue, inability to concentrate, and severe mood swings, exactly when you need to be at your mental peak. Instant coffee solves this. It requires only hot water, no filters, no equipment, no brewing process. In a bug-out situation, or when you're exhausted and just need to function, you can have coffee in 30 seconds. The shelf life is incredible. Instant coffee stored in airtight containers lasts for decades. I'm not exaggerating. The military has tested instant coffee stored for over 20 years, and it was still perfectly safe and effective. But here's what makes this really smart from a survival perspective. Caffeine is a performance enhancer. It increases alertness, improves reaction time, boosts physical endurance, and enhances problem-solving ability. In a survival scenario, all of that could literally save your life. Think about having to make critical decisions when you're exhausted and stressed. A cup of coffee could be the difference between a smart choice and a fatal mistake. The trade value is off the charts. In any extended crisis, coffee becomes incredibly valuable for barter. People will trade significant resources for caffeine once their supply runs out. I've read accounts from every major disaster where coffee was worth its weight in gold. Cost is dirt cheap. I bought 10 large jars of instant coffee for about $60. That's over 500 cups. For a year's supply, you're spending less than most preppers spend on a single case of freeze-dried meals. Storage is simple. Keep it in the original glass jars in a cool, dark place, or transfer to Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers for maximum longevity. I keep mine in a separate bin labeled trade goods because half of it is specifically for bartering. And here's the psychological factor nobody talks about. The simple ritual of making and drinking coffee provides normalcy during chaos. That familiar routine calms your nervous system and gives you a moment of comfort when everything feels wrong. Don't underestimate that. Food number 7 is pickled vegetables in jars. This one surprised me because I always associated pickled stuff with short-term foods, but I was completely wrong. Properly pickled vegetables in sealed jars can last for years. The vinegar and salt create an environment where nothing can grow. I started thinking about this seriously after visiting family in Eastern Europe. My grandmother had jars of pickled vegetables in her cellar that were 3 years old, and everyone ate them without hesitation. She said her mother survived entire winters eating only pickled vegetables, potatoes, and bread. The nutrition angle is what sold me on this. Pickled vegetables retain most of their vitamins, especially vitamin C, which is critical for immune function. During extended emergencies, when fresh produce is impossible to get, vitamin C deficiency leads to serious health problems. Scurvy is not just a pirate disease, it's a real threat during long-term survival scenarios. But here's what makes pickled vegetables truly essential. The vinegar and probiotics from fermentation support gut health. When you are under extreme stress, your digestive system suffers. Pickled foods actively help maintain healthy gut bacteria, which improves nutrient absorption and supports immune function. The variety is huge. Pickled cucumbers, carrots, peppers, onions, beets, cabbage, green beans. Each one brings different nutrients and flavors. When you're eating bland survival food every day, having something tangy and crunchy to add to your meal makes a massive psychological difference. I tested this during a month-long challenge where I ate only my stockpile food. By week 2, I was so sick of the monotony. Then I opened a jar of pickled peppers and added them to my rice and beans. The burst of flavor and acidity completely changed the meal. Suddenly I was enjoying eating again. Cost is incredibly low. You can buy commercial pickled vegetables, or you can make your own, which is even cheaper. I've got about 40 jars of various pickled vegetables in my stockpile. Total investment was maybe $80. Storage requires a cool, dark place. A basement or closet works perfectly. The jars need to stay sealed until you're ready to use them. Once opened, they'll last for months in the fridge, or even at room temperature if you're careful. Here's the insider tip. Eastern European markets and stores carry amazing varieties of pickled vegetables that most Americans never see. Go explore and stock up. Nobody is panic buying pickled beets during a crisis. Food number 8 is whole grain oats. Not the instant packets, I'm talking about whole rolled oats or steel cut oats in bulk. This is one of the most underrated prepper foods because everyone assumes oats are just breakfast food. They're so much more than that. Whole grain oats stored properly last for up to 30 years. This is documented. With oxygen absorbers in airtight containers, you've got decades of high-quality nutrition. The fiber content is off the charts. Oats contain both soluble and insoluble fiber, which is critical for digestive health during stressful situations. When you're eating a diet heavy in rice and canned goods, constipation becomes a serious problem. Oats prevent that. But here's what most preppers don't realize. You can use oats in so many ways beyond oatmeal. Grind them into flour for baking. Use them as a binder in soups and stews. Make oat milk by blending with water. Mix them into meat dishes to stretch your protein further. I personally tested this. 1 pound of ground meat mixed with a cup of oats feeds twice as many people without anyone noticing the difference. The nutrition is solid. Oats provide protein, complex carbohydrates for sustained energy, B vitamins, iron, and magnesium. This is complete fuel for your body. During a survival situation where you're physically active, oats give you the steady energy you need without the crash. I keep 100 pounds of whole rolled oats in 5-gallon buckets with oxygen absorbers. It cost me about $60. That's breakfast for my family for over a year, plus all the additional uses. Compare that to freeze-dried breakfast meals at $10 per serving. The preparation is simple. Boil water, add oats, cook for 5 to 10 minutes depending on the type. You can even eat them raw, if necessary, by soaking them overnight in water. During a grid-down situation with limited fuel, that flexibility matters. Here's a survival hack I learned from an old-timer. Mix oats with powdered milk, a little sugar, and cinnamon. Store the dry mix in jars. When you need breakfast, just add hot water. Instant, filling. Nutritious meal with zero thought required. Perfect for high-stress mornings when you need fuel fast. And while everyone else is fighting over cereal and breakfast foods during a crisis, whole oats will still be available because most people don't think about them. Food number 9 is canned tomato paste. This sounds boring, but stay with me because this is legitimately one of the smartest things you can stockpile. Tomato paste is concentrated tomatoes with most of the water removed. This makes it incredibly nutrient-dense and shelf-stable. A single small can contains the equivalent of 6 to 8 fresh tomatoes. The lycopene content is through the roof. Lycopene is a powerful antioxidant that supports immune function and reduces inflammation. During high-stress survival situations, your body produces massive amounts of inflammatory compounds. Lycopene fights that. But here's the real genius of stocking tomato paste. It's a flavor base for dozens of meals. Add it to rice for Spanish rice. Stir it into beans for chili. Mix it with water for tomato soup. Combine it with spices for pasta sauce. One small can transforms a bland meal into something your family will actually want to eat. During a 3-week period where I was testing my stockpile, tomato paste became my secret weapon. Plain rice became tomato rice. Boring chicken became chicken and tomato sauce. Basic soup became minestrone. My family never complained about the food because everything tasted different and satisfying. The shelf life is excellent. Canned tomato paste lasts for up to 2 years on the shelf, often longer. The high acidity preserves it naturally. I've used cans that were 3 years old with 0 issues. Cost is absurdly low. Small cans of tomato paste cost less than $1. Large cans are maybe $2. For a year's supply, you're spending less than $50. Storage is simple. Keep them in a cool, dark place, organized by expiration date. I keep about 60 cans in my pantry, which gives me enough to use tomato paste multiple times per week for an entire year. Here's a recipe that saved my sanity during an extended power outage. Heat up a can of beans, add half a can of tomato paste, throw in some spices, and let it simmer. You've got thick, rich chili that tastes like you spent hours cooking. Total time is 10 minutes. And here's something interesting. Tomato paste is one of the few foods that's actually more nutritious than fresh tomatoes because the cooking process increases the bioavailability of lycopene. You're getting more nutrition from the can than from the garden. Food number 10 is split peas. Not whole peas, split peas. And this is a survival food that's been keeping people alive for thousands of years, but somehow got forgotten by modern preppers. Split peas are incredibly easy to cook. Unlike beans, they don't require soaking. Throw them in a pot with water, and they break down into this thick, creamy soup in about 45 minutes. The texture is naturally satisfying, almost like a stew, which makes it feel like real food instead of survival rations. The protein content is solid, about 16 grams per cooked cup. But here's what makes split peas special. They're high in lysine, an amino acid that's often missing from grain-based diets. If you're eating mostly rice and wheat in a survival situation, adding split peas balances your amino acid profile for complete protein. The shelf life is incredible. Dried split peas last for decades when stored properly. I've got buckets of green and yellow split peas that will outlast me. During the Great Depression, split pea soup kept entire families alive through the winter. It was cheap, filling, and nutritious. That same logic applies today. 1 pound of dried split peas costs about $2 and makes enough soup to feed a family for 2 days. Here's my go-to recipe. Boil split peas with water, add salt and any spices you have. If you've got dried onion or garlic powder, even better. The peas naturally thicken into this creamy, rich soup that sticks to your ribs and keeps you full for hours. I keep 50 pounds of split peas in my stockpile, half green and half yellow. Total cost was under $90. That's months of protein-rich meals. Storage is identical to other dried goods. Food-grade buckets with oxygen absorbers in a cool, dry place. They'll last for decades without any degradation in quality. And here's the beauty. During panic buying, nobody thinks about split peas. They're sitting on shelves fully stocked while everything else disappears. That's your advantage as a smart prepper. Food number 11 is vinegar. Plain white vinegar. And this might be the most versatile survival supply you can stockpile. Most people think of vinegar as just a cooking ingredient, but it's so much more than that. First, the shelf life is literally indefinite. Vinegar does not go bad, ever. I've got bottles in my basement that are 5 years old, and they're identical to brand new. The acidity preserves it permanently. For food preservation, vinegar is essential. You can pickle vegetables to extend their life. You can use it to preserve meat. You can add it to water when canning to prevent bacterial growth. During a long-term emergency when refrigeration is impossible, vinegar becomes critical for food safety. But here's where it gets really interesting. Vinegar has dozens of non-food uses that make it invaluable during a crisis. It's a disinfectant. It cleans surfaces. It can treat minor infections. It helps with digestion. It can even be used to treat stings and bites. I personally use vinegar to extend the life of fresh vegetables. Add a tablespoon of vinegar to the water when washing vegetables, and they last significantly longer. In a survival situation where food waste could mean going hungry, that matters. The cost is ridiculous. A gallon of white vinegar costs about $3. For your entire stockpile, you're spending maybe $30. That's years of food preservation, cleaning, and medical use. Storage is dead simple. Keep it in the original plastic bottles in any cool, dry place. It doesn't require any special conditions. And here's something fascinating. During World War II, vinegar was used to disinfect wounds when medical supplies ran low. Soldiers survived infections because of vinegar. That's documented history. So look, here's the bottom line. While everyone else is buying the same prepper foods that disappear instantly during emergencies, you now know 11 items that are cheaper, last longer, more versatile, and will actually still be on shelves when panic buying hits. These are foods I genuinely keep stocked, not because I'm trying to keep secrets, but because I learned that real survival is about thinking differently than the crowd. If this video gave you ideas you've never heard before, smash that like button so I know to keep making content like this. Subscribe, because I drop unconventional prepping strategies every week that could make the difference for your family. And comment below telling me which of these 11 foods you are adding to your stockpile first. Next week, I'm exposing the 5 survival myths that could actually get you killed in a real emergency. You definitely don't want to miss that.